What brands or companies are actually evil? Luxottica. This is one company that runs a monopoly on 80% of glasses in the USA. They also own the eyeglasses stores and the insurance companies and eye doctor chains. Ever wondered why glass and a bit of plastic costs as much as a smartphone? Not only do they own the major brands, they own the optical stores that sell those brands. A few products are made in Europe but most are made in China. I read that their premium glasses cost $15 to make and retail for $400. At one point they refused to stock Oakley. Oakley went bankrupt. Then they bought it. Pure evil. The National Football League sent a crooked doctor to testify before Congress and lie about football turning players' brains into mush. They destroyed the career of the researcher who discovered it. They threatened lawsuits against journals that published the research. They actively misled players about the danger. Yes, everybody knew you could get a concussion playing football, but the league led players to believe it could be managed like any injury. Just get a couple weeks rest and it will heal. The league knew everyone causes permanent damage that never heals and lied to players about it. When ESPN co-produced a documentary about all this with PBS Frontline, the league forced them to disavow it and take their name off it or risk losing coverage access. Nestle. The CEO has stated water isn't a human right and has lobbied to push legislature to make that a reality. Thankfully to no success yet. Nike. Look up, I was the fastest girl in America until so and so. She took part in a Nike program like many others and it did not end well for her. I saw that video. It's a horrible thing that happened to her. Union Carbide. One night, a pesticide plant in India leaked methyl isocyanate on the city of Bhopal. 500,000 were exposed, 16,000 died, and 40,000 were permanently disfigured or disabled. They spent years trying to cover it up and get out of any responsibility. The pyramid schemes. I am a business owner, you should have taken my job off and now you're locked in because corona and no money, he. Basically any fast fashion brand, H&M, F21 etc. Oh buddy, the shy could tell you. I currently work for a major fashion retailer. Their clothes are made in the same sweatshops as the cheap brand. Literally the only difference is the brand label that gets sewn in and the price they are sold at. The warehouses and stockrooms are full of fleas and rats. Workers are paid below minimum wage, then topped up with bonuses that are kept out of reach. Get less than minimum required breaks and do not get statutory sick pay. And yes, this is illegal as F. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Holy cow, I've been trying to thrift what I need these days and otherwise buy as sustainably as possible. That being said, I understand I have the privilege of being able to afford this option. And most people can't just blow hundreds of dollars on a shirt when one of their clothes rips or something. Effing banana companies. Seriously, look up their history. They would topple entire governments just to be able to pay workers like garbage and sell the bananas to the states. Amway. They're a MLM company that preys on the ignorance of poor people. The DeVos family became billionaires of what is essentially a pyramid scheme. Like as in the same family that Betsy DeVos belongs to, the US Secretary of Education, who's so stupid, it's hard to believe she was chosen for her position. De Beers and their blood diamond. Child slavery cartel. Diamonds aren't even rare. They just keep a hold on the supply to make us think so. I'm creating a competing company selling certified blood diamonds. 4 children die in the process of bringing the diamond to you. Guaranteed. It's not nearly as bad as child slavery or hoarding diamonds to create fake scarcity, but they also came up with the whole diamond is forever 2 months paycheck, knowing full well that they were going to have men crippling themselves financially to get their girlfriends a socially acceptable engagement ring. This one isn't talked a lot, but companies that make insulin. Some countries have free healthcare or you can buy it for really cheap prices, but what is vital for some people to literally not die or become permanently disabled or go into a coma costs around $4 to make, and it's sold for $178 per vial in America. Like, I'd get if you even sell it for $20 or hell, even $50, but this is just insane. It's just monopoly. There are only 3 companies in the world that produce it, which means they can set any price they want and people will still buy it. BC, we're using your need for health to make money, so you'll buy it whatever the cost. Yes, X1000. My wife is a diabetic and has done some research about the companies. They avoid having the drug go generic by changing one tiny thing and say it's a new formula. We haven't paid $178, but we did have to pay $145 every 10 days. And this was on Medicare. After you pay a certain amount the donut hole, you are classified differently, and then the price was $28 for the same effing stuff. This comment degenerated fast. Utes. They're responsible for certifying lots of cocoa farms, especially in Ivory Coast, that abuse West African children in hazardous, growing labor and let farms continue in nationally protected forests. They put the certified label on imported chocolate to your country when the certified chocolate actually did use child labor swept under the rug. Dupont knowingly poisoned the entire us with a chemical that stays in your body forever and causes health issues and birth defects. There's a whole movie about it called Dark Waters. I believe they're still fighting in court over it since it happened quite a while ago. It's worse than that. Dupont poisoned land and watersheds all over the US, then essentially purposely bankrupted themselves so they could legally divest all the bad companies and lawsuits fines into spin-off companies with no assets so they couldn't afford to sue the cleanup remediation. The good parts they sold to Dow. Never mind all that in bad business. Vera Bradley. Hello Sweatshop. Their factories are funneled full of refugees from Burma, Myanmar, Guatemala, Sierra Leone. They are drastically underpaid, obviously, and stuck in these huge yet cramped sweatshops. Literal sweatshops. My boyfriend, when I was in my 20s, he worked in factories through Manpower or some such staffing agency. They placed him there for a few months. He learned that they keep the guards on short-term assignments, probably so they can't get enough evidence to turn them in. It was F-Ed. He said they gave the workers these paper-feeling pajama things and slip-on cheap sandals. They weren't allowed to bring anything into the sweatshop. Not a bag or a phone. Not a lunchbox. They couldn't bring cell phones into the entire facility. My boyfriend was also held to the cell phone rule. He would have to call me from the parking lot before he went in, because even he wasn't allowed to bring his phone into the building. He wasn't allowed to bring a lunchbox either. It was bizarre. The folks were worked in near torture conditions, like not being able to use the restroom, not being able to leave the building during a shift. He said they would work for undetermined length shifts. He wasn't ever given much information about production, about internal affairs. He was just told to watch these crowded rooms. He was supposed to make sure people weren't talking to each other. They weren't allowed to take breaks. It is seriously F-Ed, and this modern wage slavery happens in the United States. Land O'Lakes. It's a farmer's coop that's supposed to help members, but instead of using many ingredients from their members, they instead, for example, are cutting down jungles to produce palm oil to make fake butter from. It tastes terrible, and it's even worse for the environment. Charming because they are cutting down Canada's boreal forest and putting several species at risk of extinction. Also because their ads make everyone uncomfortable. Equifax. No reason they should still be trusted with personal information or credit anymore. AIG. Price fixed for-profit insurance against your health. Frankly, I could write a list because I believe most companies listed on the stock market are dissociated from their own leadership goals, abuse the entire economy. Capitalism has run amok. I don't disavow currency, but just short of it. All markets need a lot better regulation. Towing companies. This should be higher. Everyone has a Chiquita company story. They prey on poor people. I had my car towed from the mechanic because the mechanic went under and couldn't pay their rent. They wanted $1,000 to get my non-working car out and $50 for me to get my stuff out of it. I led my to Chiquita stories. I bought a car, had 5 days to change the title. I didn't, cause on the 3rd day when I got home it was gone. Went to police station to report it stolen. They said they towed it because of registration problems. I was like, cool. Here's my documentation that you illegally towed my car, and I still had 2 days to take care of the paperwork. Police said, not their problem. Talk with the tow company. $50 to look at it. $250 to open it and take things, $500 to get it out. I didn't get the car back. Other one. I went 4x4, called the tow company. Explained it's in the mud. Tow guy comes out and won't tow it. Says it needs a commercial tow. I said bullsh. Here's $50 and I'll give you another $40 when it's out. Towed it out right away, though I had to hook it up. Pharmaceutical company Richardson Merrill, Dr. Frances Kelsey worked for the FDA in 1960 and her steadfast efforts averted a national health crisis in the US, even while Merrill's drug thalidomide was being actively pulled from European markets due to widespread nerve damage and tens of thousands of birth defects. Merrill continued to pressure Dr. Kelsey and the FDA to get it approved for the US market for several months thereafter. There's an incredible TED video about this, and it's true that today it is used as an effective, albeit hugely expensive, immunomodulator in combination with steroidal anti-inflammatories for cancer treatment. But the tragedy is that in the 1950s it was heavily marketed as a sleep aid for the treatment of nausea symptoms, in particular to pregnant women. The truly evil part of the story is despite the fact that the drug was discovered to directly cause birth defects, Merrill was still pushing for the FDA clearance to market and distribute to us patients for the same treatment and target patient populations.